Have you ever sat back, surprised by a long-forgotten memory that suddenly surfaces? Maybe it's your first-grade teacher's face, the smell of your grandma's kitchen, or an old song you used to hum in your 20s. Many people think that memory just gradually fades away. But what if I told you that in some ways, your memory could actually be getting better as you get older? Sounds strange, doesn't it? Because society often links aging with cognitive decline, using words like senility, poor focus, or forgetfulness. But modern neuroscience is revealing a different, more surprising and hopeful truth. Memory doesn't just fade away. It can also evolve in positive ways if you just know where to look. The reality is, our brains are constantly learning and reorganizing themselves. A 70-year-old might forget a new pop star's name, but can vividly recount a story from 40 years ago in greater detail than a young person remembers yesterday. That's not just random aging. It's a form of memory that is evolving to become more selective, refined, and profound. And here's the most interesting part. There are very specific signs that your memory is actually improving, not getting worse. But sadly, most of us don't realize it because we're so focused on what we think we're losing that we completely miss what we're actually gaining. In this video, you'll discover 7 signs your memory is actually improving with age, even if you haven't noticed. Each sign is a subtle insight from daily life, backed by science and connected to very real human emotions. I'll help you see that you're not just living, you're remembering through a lifetime of experience. And if you stick with me to the end, you'll learn how to turn this selective memory into a true superpower, helping you connect better with family, experience each day more deeply, and embrace the wisdom you have built over a lifetime. If you're ready to completely change your perspective on memory and aging, then let's dive right in together now. Sign 1, recalling distant events more clearly. Have you noticed how the older you get, the more easily you can recall things from the distant past? Maybe it's the day you first arrived in the United States, the first time you met your spouse, or a Florida vacation back in 1985. These memories play back in your mind like a vivid movie, clear down to the tiniest details. The afternoon sun that day, the smell of fresh apple pie, or a song playing on an old car radio. This isn't a coincidence. It's the very first sign. Your memory is actually improving in a unique way. Your long-term memory. Many people think getting older means being forgetful, a constant state of remembering and forgetting. But the truth is, as your brain ages, it begins to prioritize storing meaningful memories, especially those from your youth and young adulthood. Researchers call this the reminiscence bump, a phenomenon that's well documented in the neuroscience of aging. What's interesting is this phenomenon isn't just common, it also holds immense value for our inner lives. Mr. Thomas, 78, shared that while he might not remember what he had for lunch yesterday, he can meticulously recount every detail of serving in the Army in Texas back in 1967. For him, these are precious memories, not just recollections, but the very foundation that helps him connect with his kids and grandkids, passing on life values and lessons you just can't find in any book. So why does your brain cling to these distant memories so tightly? Because they aren't just data. They're tied to powerful emotions, to first-time experiences, and to a time you were curious and full of discovery. Those years left a deep imprint on your brain, and over time, the brain's long-term memory centers become more stable, less impacted by stress or minor cognitive changes. Not only that, but the ability to clearly recall the past also helps you experience the present more deeply. When you retell an old story, you aren't just talking, you're reliving the emotion, sharing a piece of your very soul with the person in front of you. This is why older adults are often better storytellers and more inspiring, because they remember with their entire heart. If you've ever found yourself smiling at the memory of a day long ago, that is your memory working at its strongest. You are not forgetting, you are selecting. And within that selection lies a treasure that time simply cannot take away. Once you understand this, you'll no longer worry every time you forget the name of some new celebrity on TV. Because your memory, in the way that matters most, the memory of your life, is still developing in a way that is more beautiful and resilient than ever before. Sign 2. Improved ability to tell stories and connect information. Have you ever noticed that as you get older, you tell stories more captivatingly? Your stories aren't just about what happened. They're a whole journey with a beginning, climax, twist, and an ending that has people nodding along. It's not because you talk more, but because your brain has learned to weave information, emotion, and experience into a meaningful narrative. And that is the second sign your memory is being sharpened, not dulled, as many people believe. The longer you live, the more memory puzzle pieces you have to connect. But not everyone knows how to arrange them into a story. What's special is that as you age, the brain regions involved in reflective thought, social awareness, and synthesizing information, like the frontal lobe and hippocampus, become more adept at reconstructing old memories as well-structured as stories. This skill is what science calls narrative memory. Ms. Margaret, 72, a former librarian from San Jose, says now, when her granddaughter asks for a story from the old days, she doesn't just recount facts. She also remembers the feelings of those involved, the little details she might have missed as a young woman. She even draws lessons from them that, at the time, she'd never seen. Her memory doesn't just store, it reimagines, connects, and passes on life values with incredible emotion. And this is more helpful than you'd think. When you retell an old experience, your brain is reviewing its memory banks while also activating its language and emotion centers. This not only keeps your brain flexible, it also forges powerful social connections. People don't remember facts, but they will remember how you made them feel telling a great story. Not only that, but this ability to connect information also helps you understand and react to the world with greater nuance. When hearing new information, you can easily link it to a past event, compare it to your life experiences, and offer a deep insight, something a younger, more fragmented memory struggles to do. The ability to tell stories and connect information isn't just a talent. It's living proof that your memory is working in a deeper, more intelligent way. It doesn't need to retain every number or name. It retains the essence, the core, and knows how to share that core with others. So the next time you tell a story from your life, don't ask yourself, does anyone want to hear this? Know this, you are not just talking, you are giving the gift of a living memory. And that is a gift that only time and experience can bestow. Sign 3. Easily remembering emotionally relevant information. Here's something interesting many people miss. As you get older, you more easily remember events tied to your emotions. Whether it was a surprise call from family, an emotional glance at your daughter's wedding, or the quiet moment you heard a dear friend passed away, it all gets etched into your memory naturally and permanently. This is no accident. It's the third sign that your emotional memory is growing stronger and sharper over time. Neuroscience has shown that as we age, our brains tend to prioritize information linked to emotion. The amygdala, the brain's emotion processor, remains highly sensitive in older adults, especially when it comes to positive, profound experiences. This makes emotional memories incredibly easy to store and recall, while dry, neutral details are naturally pruned away over time. Mr. Frank, 76, once shared that he can't recall the grocery list his wife gave him this morning, but he remembers the exact afternoon 10 years ago when he first shook his son-in-law's hand. He still feels the gentle breeze that day, the young man's nervous smile, and his own daughter's silent, emotional gaze. I don't choose to remember it, he said. It's just there, like a movie that never fades. And this is precisely why older adults often have a deeper ability to appreciate life's small moments. A family dinner, a grandchild's laugh, or the sunset at the end of the day. They all become treasured memories, stored by the brain not for their rational importance, but for their emotional weight. And it doesn't stop there. Emotional memory also acts as a compass that helps you navigate your behavior, assess situations, and make life decisions. When you remember what once hurt, moved, or overjoyed you, you act with more grace and compassion. Memory is no longer about how much you can recall, but becomes about what truly matters. In particular, the ability to remember emotional information helps you connect with others, because emotion is a universal language, bridging any age gap. When you remember a hug, a look, or a sincere word of comfort from someone, you are saving a small piece of humanity, and that makes you seem approachable and warm to everyone around you. So if you find yourself more easily moved, more likely to remember things that touch your heart, then congratulations. You have a memory that is not just smart, it is profoundly human. A memory that can feel, that knows what's important, and holds on to what truly makes a life worth living. Sign 4. Effectively using experience to remember. There's one advantage that only older people truly have: life experience. But what's more remarkable is this: you don't just use experience to live, you are using it to remember more effectively. This is the fourth sign that your memory is getting an upgrade, not in its breadth of new information, but in its depth of lived experience. When you're young, your brain is like an unsorted suitcase. Every piece of information needs to be packed, memorized, and painstakingly categorized. But as you get older, experience becomes an internal map that helps you navigate, understand, and remember new information faster and more accurately. A young person needs to memorize a formula, but you just link it to a situation you've faced before. Mrs. Linda, 74, worked as a human resources coordinator for over 30 years. Now retired, whenever she hears about a workplace conflict, she instantly recalls a similar case, even remembering exactly how she handled it. She doesn't need notes. She doesn't need to find old files. It's all stamped in her memory because she truly lived that experience. She felt it, handled it, and learned a deep lesson from it. This is why older adults often process information contextually. They don't remember isolated facts, but in situations as part of a system. This not only saves mental energy, but also makes the stored memories last longer and be more accurate and more nuanced. Moreover, having lived through so many real-life situations helps you quickly filter what's important and what isn't. A new headline, a strange piece of info, if it's irrelevant or unhelpful to the big picture of your life, you let it naturally float by. Conversely, if it connects to an old value or experience, your memory automatically flags it and holds on. This is the key difference between rote memory and relational memory. Young people memorize, but you understand. And when you understand, memory becomes effortless. It becomes a part of you. It's wonderful to realize that all your past experiences, both the hard and the happy ones, are helping you remember your life today more deeply and completely. That's not just remembering, that's living with depth. And if anyone ever says you're old, so your memory isn't what it used to be, you can just smile and say, I don't remember a lot of nonsense. I remember what matters. Because you don't just have memory, you have wisdom. Sign 5, less distracted by unnecessary information. Perhaps you've been surprised to find you are no longer pulled into sensational headlines, petty rumors, or gossipy stories like you used to be. It's not because you don't hear them, it's because your brain has learned to quietly tune out the things that don't matter. This is the fifth sign that your memory is improving, by becoming more selective and a whole lot smarter. When you were younger, you might have felt the need to know everything, to record everything, from new song titles to details in conversations to completely irrelevant side stories. But as you enter a deeper stage of adulthood, your mind develops a powerful information filter, helping you retain only what holds real value for your life. Science calls this phenomenon inhibitory control. An older person's brain is better at ignoring distracting information, thereby saving energy to focus on what is useful. This is completely different from memory decline. It is a deliberate refinement, like an experienced gardener who knows exactly which are the weeds and which are the flowers to keep. Mr. Samuel, 79, a former bridge engineer, says he no longer remembers the names of new celebrities, but he remembers all the technical rules, the common construction mistakes, and even recalls specific conversations that helped him resolve disputes on major projects. I don't forget, he laughed. I just don't need to remember things I'll never use. This very lack of distraction also brings more peace to your mind. When you stop paying so much attention to things that aren't your business, your brain gets a chance to breathe, to feel lighter, not weighed down by trivial clutter. As a result, you can direct your focus to what is truly important. A check-in call, a good book, or simply a moment watching the evening light drift through your window. In an age where everything is competing for your attention, the ability to not remember is also a form of wisdom. You are protecting your memory not by cramming more in, but by knowing what to let go. And that is a precious skill, one that not everyone has, but that only time and experience can bring. So if you ever find yourself unable to remember trivial things like before, don't worry. It's likely not a deficit, but rather the wisdom of a maturing brain. One that's learning to remember what's worth remembering and gently releasing what isn't. Sign 6, better memory for habits and daily tasks. Have you noticed that the repetitive tasks of each day, like making breakfast, taking medicine on time, watering the plants, or your afternoon walk, seem to never require you to try to remember? Everything just happens automatically. No to-do list needed, no alarm set. That's not just being used to it. It's the sixth sign that your procedural memory and your habit-based memory are growing stronger with age. In middle and old age, your brain tends to automate daily actions through a mechanism known as procedural memory. This is the type of memory that helps you do things without much thought, like riding a bike, brushing your teeth, or finding your way home without GPS. What's special is that this type of memory is less affected by age and often remains excellent, even when other forms of memory, like recalling names or numbers, might slightly decline. Mrs. Helen, 75, who lives alone in suburban Oregon, shared that while she doesn't clearly remember her doctor's names at the hospital, she can still prepare dinner with the perfect amount of sodium for her blood pressure diet, entirely without measuring, because it's all been programmed into her routine. I just opened the fridge and my hands grab the right things automatically. It's like someone in my head already did it for me, she joked. The wonderful thing is, habit memory not only makes daily life feel easier, it also gives you a sense of stability and control. When you can still perform familiar tasks accurately, you feel like you're still at the steering wheel of your life, still independent and not dependent. That is a very important feeling for older adults because it reinforces the belief that I am still in charge of my own life. And when good habits are maintained regularly, like walking, staying hydrated, reading, or calling family, they become a support network for your mental and physical health. Each small, repeated daily action is an invisible thread keeping your brain active, connected to reality, and always confident that I still remember, I can still do this. If you are feeling that your life is flowing smoothly, naturally, with old habits that don't need to be written down, then congratulations. Your memory is operating like a silent, persistent, and most loyal companion. Not loud, not flashy, but always there when you need it. And that is the precious gift that time has taught you how to build. Sign 7, improved ability to focus when necessary. Have you ever noticed that when you need to focus, you focus more deeply than ever? Whether you're reading a letter from a loved one, fixing an old watch, or sitting silently listening to the wind on the porch, you are no longer easily sidetracked by a ringing phone, a TV commercial, or a passing conversation. This is the seventh sign, and also one of the most valuable, that your memory is improving through the power of selective focus. When you're young, the brain is like an antenna constantly picking up signals. Every sound, image, and emotion is vying for attention at once. But as you get older, you no longer catch every signal. Your brain has learned how to choose, to focus deeply on what's important, and to ignore unnecessary noise. Scientists call this directed attentional control, a refined ability that helps you maintain steadier, longer-lasting attention, especially when something has emotional significance or personal value. Mr. David, 81, a former woodcarver from New York. Though his eyes are not as sharp as they once were, he can still spend hours at his workbench, carving intricate lines into the wood, with a focus so deep he loses all track of time. When I am working, nothing else exists around me, he shared. There is no TV sound, no traffic. There is only me, the wood, and what I want to put into it. And the wonderful thing is, this deep focus also helps memories to be engraved more permanently. Because when you are truly paying attention, you are not just seeing or hearing, you are feeling. And once you have felt, the memory will stay for a very long time in your mind. This is precisely why older people can remember a doctor's instructions accurately or every detail in a loved one's story when they put their whole mind into that moment. Unlike the hurried multitasking of youth, the focus in deeper adulthood is a kind of full presence. You do not try to remember, you are truly living in that moment. And that complete presence has become the secret key that helps your memory become not chaotic but streamlined, profound, and resilient. So if someone says that old age means forgetfulness, you can just smile because you know that when you need to, you can focus so deeply that nothing can shake you. In a world full of distractions, that ability is not just precious. It's a form of memory that has evolved, rich in wisdom and so worthy of pride. We often hear that memory will gradually fade with the years. But after exploring these 7 signs together, perhaps you see a completely different truth. Memory doesn't just disappear. It transforms, it enriches, and it becomes more refined with age. You are recalling old events with sharp detail. You tell stories compellingly, knowing how to connect information, emotion, and experience like a natural-born storyteller. You easily remember things that touch your heart, using experience to understand and remember faster. You know how to let go of trivial things to hold on to what's truly valuable. You maintain daily habits without needing notes, and you focus deeply, completely, when needed, something not everyone can do. These things aren't luck. They are the result of the entire life you have lived, felt, and grown through. They are living proof of a form of memory that is not worn down, but has been sharpened. No longer chasing the quantity of information, but knowing how to select what is meaningful. No longer trying to remember everything, but knowing how to hold on to the things that truly make you who you are. If you've ever worried when you forgot an old acquaintance's name, or it took a few minutes to remember what you were about to do, then today perhaps you realize a strong memory isn't about remembering everything, but about remembering what's right. And the most beautiful thing is, it's never too late to realize you still have so much strength inside you. Memory isn't falling away, it's becoming more selective. Age isn't taking everything away. It's opening a new way of living, one that is deeper and more meaningful. So today, Meste, after watching this video, which sign resonated with you the most? Have you noticed any of these positive shifts in your own memory? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, because your story could give so much hope to many other people. If this was helpful, why not give it a like, subscribe, and share this video with someone you love? Let's spread a more positive view on memory and aging together. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll keep exploring the amazing parts of growing older.